All right, so today I have in a pretty awesome G-Shock. I've always really liked the look of the Ana-Digi models, but at the same time, I've always found them to be a little hard to read, especially with the smaller digital displays. Not the case at all with the watch I have in today, and it's gotta be the best Ana-Digi model I've ever gotten hands on with when it comes to usability and legibility. The watch is the GGB100-8A Mudmaster, and as soon as I saw the watch, I just loved it. The black and gray color combination looks great. Big thanks to my local authorized dealer, Gembijou, for lending in the watch. If you're shopping watches, check them out at gembijou.com. Now, let's get straight to it and take a look at the watch. All right, so how cool is this? This watch just screams ruggedness. Today isn't going to be a full tilt breakdown of the watch, more of an overview, but wow, this watch has a lot going for it in both the overall look and the features that it offers. There is a couple of negatives we'll get to, but nothing major. The watch is using the carbon core guard structure case design. So there's a resin case reinforced with carbon fiber. There's a metal case back and then the outer resin case back. Then on top, we have that carbon fiber bezel, which looks so cool. One thing with the watch I'm loving is the size of the buttons. We have a total of six, all in steel, and you will not have any problems using these. They are large, plus they just look perfect on the watch, I find, too. The strap is a textured gray strap with the contrasting black keeper. On the opposite side here, we've got that little hump at the end to stop the keeper from sliding off the strap. Pretty typical feel to the material, but I will say this is one of the most comfortable larger G-Shocks I've tried in a while. So here's one of my favorite parts of the watch, and that is the large digital display. You can easily read the day and date there, as well as the different info display depending on the mode you're in. At the moment, this is the only Mudmaster in this lineup with a positive display, which really helps with legibility. And speaking of legibility, even with the hands and markers being grayed out, they're also easy to see to get the time. In the dark, not as much. The lume isn't the best, but the backlight is extremely good. It is very bright, and it's also very easy to find the button as it is so large at the 6 o'clock there to activate that backlight. Overall, the dial looks great, especially with that area at the top of the dial, kind of that sonar look. At the left of the hand stack, it reads quad sensor. You often see the triple sensors, the usual ABC sensors with the altitude, barometer, and compass, but this watch also has a fourth sensor for the pedometer. The top right button activates the compass. The second hand then switches over and starts to point to north. In the digital display, you can have the bearing, and with the push of the top left pusher, we can switch that over to the bearing angle. The bottom right button is the altitude mode, and that shows us a graph to the left giving us changes in altitude and then the actual altitude reading on the right. I'll quickly just cycle through the other modes here. And first, we've got the barometer function. Next up is the temperature. There's an altitude recall function, and then sunrise and sunset times, and you can actually cycle through past or future dates to see those times. Next up is more of the basic functions you see on a lot of G-Shock models. So we have functions like the stopwatch, the timer, alarm, and finally world time. Now, I don't have this connected to the app, but there's lots more you can do with this thing. There's a calorie calculator. There's a phone finder if you've lost your phone, even a location indicator where you can mark, say, your vehicle before you take a hike, and the second hand points back to that marked location, and the distance will appear on the digital display. Not to sound like an infomercial, but there's more. I'll stop here though to really cover everything. This would be a long video. The size on the watch, I'm going to be hitting you guys with some large numbers here, is 53.1 millimeters in case width. That's from the outer edge of the button at the 6 o'clock to the edge of the case here where the sensor is at the 9. This larger button, by the way, is the one you'd use to connect the watch to your phone. Thickness of the watch is 18.3 millimeters. That's in this area here, and it is a little bit thicker at the four corners. Now, the lug-to-lug is a little tricky to measure, but the effective lug-to-lug is essentially from this edge to this edge here, and that measurement I'm getting 67.8 millimeters. So that's definitely a possible negative depending on your wrist size. It's a beast of a watch. Water resist on the watch is 200 meters, and there's also filters at different possible entry points to make it dust and mud resistant. The crystal is a mineral crystal. Sapphire would have been much more preferable, but we've got mineral with this one. And here it is on my 7.25-inch wrist. And you guys want to see a funny side by side? This is the watch I was wearing today, the A100. Bit of a contrast in watch sizes here, but surprisingly, the Mudmaster wears very well considering how large it does look on wrist. It's comfortable for the size, and I think it's actually an awesome watch. It's just so feature packed. I kind of wish this was solar too, but there is a load of things this watch can do. Cost wise, this one goes for 380 USD, which doesn't seem bad at all for what you're getting. So thanks again to Gem Bijou for lending in the watch. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.